Not all fires are the same. Different fires require different types of fire extinguishing agents. Some types of fire extinguishers can be used on more than one type of fire. Class A fires. Ordinary combustibles such as wood, cloth, paper, and rubber. To remember a Class A fire, think of A as in ash for any item that burns to ashes. Class B fires. Flammable or combustible liquids, flammable gases, grease, oil, and similar material. To remember a Class B fire, think of B as in barrel for common items stored in barrels. Class C fires. Any fire which involves live electrical equipment. Once the electricity has been shut off, the fire becomes the class of whatever material is burning. An easy way to remember Class C fires is to think of C as in electrical current. Class D fires. Any fire which involves combustible metals such as magnesium, titanium, and sodium. Class D fires are limited to specialized metal manufacturing processes. Class K fires. Any fire which involves vegetable oils, animal oils, or fats in cooking appliances. This is for commercial kitchens, including those found in restaurants, cafeterias, and caterers. To remember a Class K fire, think of K as in kitchens.
Now we'll talk about a water pressure, which is a 2A rating. Means it's 2 gallons of water. An A rating is for wood and paper. No B rating, no oil, and no C rating, simply wood and paper. 2 gallons of water, pressurized with nitrogen. Very ineffective, primarily only used wood and paper fires. Fairly heavy, weighs roughly 25 pounds, a bit awkward to use. The ABC has a 3A rating, surpasses the 2A of the water, plus the 5-pound extinguisher has a B and a C rating. And this is a multi-purpose, whereas these are simply for wood and paper. We've been recommending people remove them from their buildings simply because you can accidentally pick up the wrong extinguisher and use it on oil and electrical. And we'll show later when we start our fires what happens if you accidentally use a water extinguisher on an oil fire. It just basically spreads it and disperses it, causing more damage and more hazard. The first thing I'll talk about is an ABC fire extinguisher, multi-purpose. This particular extinguisher is made by Amerex, top quality extinguisher, pressurized, pressure gauge, has a tamper seal on it, 11 pounds of pressure to break the tamper seal, steel shell. And this particular one was made in 2005, dated. 5 pounds of ABC powder, 3A 10 BC rating. Very good quality extinguisher, very easy to use. This extinguisher requires maintenance 6 years from when it was made and 12 years hydrostatic test. Let's talk about the regular dry chemical. Regular dry chemical is simply bicarbonate of soda. It is primarily used in kitchens. It has no A rating at all. It is completely a B and C. It has a 40 BC rating. And the number 40, is the amount of square feet of fire this extinguisher will put out, oil and electrical fire, for an average person using the extinguisher. So 40 square feet of fire area, which is fairly large. It will put out a substantial fire, but only primarily used in kitchens where the regular powder is bicarbonate of soda, is not toxic to the kitchen and food area. An ABC would not be used in the kitchen area because of the toxicity of the A class, the A rating, which is toxic. Again, this particular one needs 6-year maintenance and 12-year H test from the day it was manufactured, the date on the cylinder. Next, we'll talk about a CO2. CO2 basically removes the oxygen. It removes the oxygen and it cools the fire at the same time. It has no A rating, strictly B and C rating, but a very low B and C rating. It is used to replace the older halon extinguishers, which are ozone depleting. CO2s, there is a bit of a static discharge coming from them. They're basically carbon dioxide. What we exhale is what comes out. It comes out as a liquid and then turns into a gas. It's under pressure, roughly 600 pounds per square inch pressure. Notice there's no gauge, and the only way you can tell that it's full is by the weight of the extinguisher. So it needs to be weighed on a monthly basis and on the yearly basis, again weighed by an outside contractor. These particular extinguishers need 5-year H test from the date of manufacture, which is stamped on the cylinder. High pressure cylinder. Fairly ineffective if it's windy. On a car fire, if there is a lot of wind, very difficult to put the fire out. If you're in a confined area, oxygen is being removed, difficult to breathe. Simply, primarily used electrical, sensitive electrical equipment or electronic equipment is what it's used for. This is a Halon 1211 extinguisher. These extinguishers have been replaced with new clean brand names such as Energen. It is a Freon type of gas, roughly 20 psi coming out of the nozzle. It is cold, it turns into a gas, and it is a chemical reaction. Very effective, very clean, but at this time, very costly to purchase, very costly to refill. Anyone using an Energen extinguisher would probably first purchase a CO2 extinguisher for lesser cost, depending on the application. If it is highly sensitive electronic equipment, then the customer will purchase an Energen as the best tool to safeguard against a fire for electronic and delicate equipment. The extinguisher needs to be weighed also. Has a gauge to show the pressure, but it also has, you can feel the liquid inside it. It has weight and volume to measure to make sure that it's full. It's filled with nitrogen. The nitrogen and the halon or Energen homogenizes. In there, it discharges, pressurized, roughly 100 psi coming out, discharging 20 to 30 seconds worth of discharge. A very effective extinguisher. We have a new one that's just out, a K-Class. A K-Class is used on fryers, primarily in kitchens, to supplement a kitchen fire protection system. There is a similar saponification process that happens. It is a carbaloy that comes out that smothers and cools the oil and removes the oxygen from the top of the fryer. So this is a new standard, is a K-Class extinguisher, primarily used on fryers in kitchens. Very effective too, and to supplement the kitchen system. An acronym that's used to show how to use a fire extinguisher is PASS. Pull the pin to release the handle. Aim the extinguisher at the base of the flames. Squeeze the handle and release the extinguishing agent. Sweep back and forth across the base of the flames, and if the fire does not seem to be getting any smaller, leave the area immediately. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, sweeping motion. I'm using a 5-pound ABC, aiming at the base of the fire. Slow sweeping motion. Should always have a backup person just in case you're overcome. And the important thing is don't fight the fire unless you're safe trying to put it out. Don't put yourself in risk. Wait until the fire department comes for them to do their job. About 20 to 30 second discharge. This 5-pound ABC will put out a very good sized fire. We're putting out gasoline fire at the base of the fire, sweeping motion, 3 to 4 feet away from it, 5 feet away from it. Very effective. This is a 10-pound CO2, pulling the pin Positioning the nozzle. Position yourself upwind so that the smoke and flames don't come towards you. Notice, nozzle is cold, discharging CO2. The windier it is, the harder it is for it to put the fire out. Basically, removing the oxygen. Be very careful that it does not reflash as soon as the oxygen hits it again. Not as effective as an ABC, but still good for B and C fires. No residue left, very clean. Everything just evaporates. Carbon dioxide, what we're exhaling, is what came out of the extinguisher. Very cold, so be cautious of the nozzle. It's frozen, and sometimes if it's too heavy, you can leave it on the ground. Also a very large, very loud noise when the gas is discharging. This is a 2.5 gallon water pressure extinguisher. Here's an example of what happens when the wrong extinguisher is used. Water, A rating, trying to put out an electrical oil fire, gasoline fire. Does not work. Spreads it, makes it much more hazardous. So picking the right extinguisher is very important. Using a multi-purpose. The right extinguisher, using a multi-purpose ABC, multi-purpose extinguisher, is the right extinguisher to use. Low sweeping motion, removing the oxygen from the fire. Five-pound ABC extinguisher. I'm pulling the pin, pulling the nozzle out. I'm at the base of the fire. Sweeping motion. Just straight, 2 gallons of water, Class A rating. Primarily only wood and paper fires. Very effective, simple to use. Aiming at the base of the fire. The water will make a bit of a dent in it. Watching the smoke. Probably restart again on its own. It is already. This is not the size of fire that you would tackle on your own. You'd be calling the fire department right away for any of the fires.
Fire extinguishers, when used properly, can save lives and prevent costly damages by putting out small fires or containing a fire until the fire department arrives. When dealing with fires, you must remember that extinguishers do not replace the need to call the fire department. Always be sure to call 911 when a fire occurs, no matter how small it may be. Fire extinguishers are not designed to be used on large fires, and even on small fires, they are only effective under certain conditions. Fire extinguishers are designed to put out certain types of fires according to the fire ratings. Choosing the wrong type of fire extinguisher could potentially make a fire spread. The extinguisher must be large enough to tackle the fire you are trying to put out. The extinguisher must be fully charged and able to operate properly and be accessible. You must know how to implement the pass technique and operate an extinguisher properly. The operator of the extinguisher must be physically capable to lift and maneuver the extinguisher while putting out the fire. You should always have a backup person with an additional extinguisher standing by. Make sure you always have an escape path if the fire becomes out of control. Always guarantee your own protection before tackling any fire.